Hey guys, Ryan and Alec here at Ground Control. I'm gonna move on to full mount and start looking at some attacks that we can do from the top position in full mount. So I'm gonna start on top of Alec. And one of my favorite ones to go for is just your traditional armbar. And this is a lot of different ways that we can get there. This is just my variation, the way that I like to get to the armbar. So the first thing I'm gonna do is you see Alec is in good position, his elbows are tight. I'm certainly not gonna grab and just try to move right to an armbar. I'll create too much space that way. The way that I like to get here is I want to control the space between his ribs and his arms. Now I can start moving these guys around. There's a few different ways that we'll get into on how to get there in later videos. For the time being, I'm just going to cup right above his wrists, pull his wrist towards my belt knot, and now that should create some space that my hands can slide down and post onto the mat. As I do that, my hands post wide, so the crease of my elbows will be right around the crease of his. Also, my chest is going right towards his chest, and now we're gonna look to start setting up our armbar. So the first thing I do is my hands are gonna go almost in a big arc motion, like I'm trying to make him do a snow angel. So my hands are gonna start working their way up until his arms are above his head. And now I'm gonna cross my arms, grabbing at my own elbows to keep this guy nice and secure. We do wanna keep our arms right in front of his head. If we try to pull up now, Alec can shoulder walk away, and now I'll be chasing my own tail. So my arms are gonna work as a wedge to block him from being able to shoulder walk and scoot up. From here, it's about closing off the space between his armpit and my hips. So before I do anything to adjust up top, I'm gonna walk my hips up and really bring my hips high onto his chest when we go, before we try to set up our finish. So I'm blocking his head, my toes engage with the mat, and now I'm gonna walk up and then pinch my knees together like I'm trying to squeeze his shoulders through his ears. Still maintaining that good block above the head. If necessary, you can post your head onto the mat so that you have a base point for in case he tries to roll you or whatnot. Now, once we're in this position, it's about finishing. So the step-by-step process that I normally go through, and it's not very fast when I do this, even in live goes, but I'm gonna pick a side that I want to attack. So in this case, I'm gonna go towards my left side, attacking his right arm. As I come underneath, I'm gonna try to keep the crease of my elbow right below his, and then I try to palm and wrap my fingers around the far side triceps, right around the elbow as well. So once we're underneath, I get my arm established, I'm reaching all the way through and trying to grab the arms onto the other side. Now I have a free hand, and this is gonna work as my kickstand, and it's gonna be super helpful to adjust our body so we can execute the armbar properly. So the first thing I do is I'm gonna post on the mat, lift, and start scooting it back towards his head. At the same time, my arm shaves up his head and posts right onto his forehead. Now, you see our hips are parallel with one another. It's gonna be tough for me to finish this armbar without cheating my angle. I wanna angle off towards the side on the arm that I want to attack. So that's what I'm gonna look to do here. The way that I do it, it all starts with my kickstand. Once I'm in a good position, I don't just try to walk my legs there, I move my arm first, almost like there's a straight line, and just move it about a foot out towards the side. Now I try to line my body up with that hand. So as I do it, you see my knee opened, and I close it right by his head, right at top, still pinching, still squeezing nice and tight. Okay, we have good position on him now. I'm gonna look to adjust onto the other side. So my leg straightens so that my instep is on the mat, and I'm gonna start walking my instep up so my quad starts meeting his armpit onto the other side. Avoid the temptation to step your foot flat because of all the space that we create here. Right now, this is getting him one step closer to an escape and also takes a little bit of pressure off of him. So we don't want to do that. We want to keep that instep. And now as I go to adjust my hip, I have a hard interior rotation with my quad pointed inward or towards his head. I'm going to adjust that and it's going to roll. So as I do it, my heel is going to be my pivot point. It's not going to be moving to my foot because, again, we're creating space. I want to keep that contact. So I'm going to roll. At the same time, I move my kickstand. So both my hand and my foot wave at the same time and go in the same direction. I'm going to post by his hip with my hand. And now, once I have that exterior rotation, I slide my hamstring to the armpit, and then I engage my hamstring to keep him nice and tight. So I'm posting onto my hand. Now, the leg on the other side, my knee is going to stay by the head, but I'm going to open up ever so slightly. Okay, so I'm going to open up onto my instep so I can drive a little bit more, and I can apply more pressure. My hip right now is super heavy on Alec's chest. So as I look to drive, now I've taken weight off of my leg. We don't want to stay square, keep the equal distribution in our weight and try to step this leg over. We'll start getting a little bit fumbly there, creating a lot of space. Instead, I want to make sure that I really distribute all my weight into my hip that's on his chest. That takes the weight off of this side, the leg close towards his head, and now we're able to stake all the way over. So we're going to come over top of his head. I'm going to go ahead and put my heel right towards his ear, and then I extend his head away from his shoulder. Now it's time to finish. I make sure I have a good hook into his arm, and now my elbow is just going to slide up and catch his wrist onto the other side, keeping my hand tight towards my chest. We can finish from top if we work our hips in. We just thrust our hips forward and pull back. If we do go back towards the mat, I like to grab right at the knee, still keep that tight hamstring, pinching my knees together, not crossing my feet to where my knees are sticking out. So I keep those tight knees and really engage my hamstring. I like to pick his back up off the floor. And then from here, my hips go towards the lights in order to apply that pressure. We'll go one more time with it. So we're gonna swim, post, and now we're gonna close off space. From here, we walk in our snow angel and then go right to our Ijima grip, for those of you old enough to know what that means. Now we need to close that space between my hips and his armpits. So my toes engage with the mat, I walk up, and now I pinch laterally. I'm really focusing on that, making him nice and uncomfortable. My hand on the side that I want to attack, I keep my elbow to elbow, and then to the opposite arm, I'm going to go ahead and grab right at his triceps, right below his elbow. Now I have a free hand. We post onto the mat to lift, and now our arm comes up and we post right onto the forehead. From here, we're going to cheat our angle. The kickstand moves first, my body moves second to line up, and now we're ready to go for our attack. The leg straightens, and I'm going to walk on my instep. As I do this, we're going to wave our hand and our foot at the same time, not stepping our foot flat towards the mat. Once I post, I generally need to do a slight adjustment, so I don't just try to bend because of the space that we've created. I'm going to slide up and then engage my hamstring, still leaning. From here, my leg comes out. I'm going to push off just to make him a little bit more uncomfortable, taking the weight off the leg that has to come over the head, pinching my knees, and now the crease of my elbow slides right to the wrist of where I want to attack. From here, I keep good pinched knees and really engage those hamstrings. Now, as I look to fall back, I bring his shoulders off the mat, pinching, and my belly button goes towards the ceiling. And that's a variation of the armbar from full mount.